Okay, so today we're going to talk about functions. We're going to do some definition work here. We don't do a lot of definition stuff in math, but I think it's necessary when it comes to talking about functions. So the first definition we'll give you is of a function. Okay, a function is a relation involving. Okay, I don't know where everything's going to be. There we go. A relation involving one or more variables. A relation involving one or more variables. So then the next question may be, well, what's a relation? Okay. A relation is a collection of ordered pairs. So if I asked you the question, is a table a relation? Or does a table represent a relation? Would you say yes or no? Yes, right? Because a table of values, x and y values, is basically just coordinate points, but we put them in a table form. So when you see a table, you can think of a relation. Now a table represents a graph, so a graph is a relation. Okay. Let's see our next one. The vertical line test. Okay, you probably remember the vertical line test. The vertical line test is what? Who can kind of give me like the, I don't know. Let's just explain it. I know it's up there, but if I have a graph, okay, let's say I have a graph like this. Okay, what do I do with the vertical line test? Well, how does it help me? Okay, it tells me if something's not a function. So if I was to draw a bunch of vertical lines on this graph, do any of those vertical lines cross my graph more than once? No. So that tells me this graph is a function. If I have another function, so say I do this, say this is my function. Okay, if I draw the vertical line here, it crosses twice that function. Okay, that's the vertical line test. All right, some characteristics of our graphs. The domain. Domain is the set of all x values. It's the set of all x values. Does anybody remember the name for the set of all y values? It starts with an R. I think I might have heard it. It's the range. The range is the set of all y values. Okay, and our last one here on this side is 1 to 1. Okay, if something is 1 to 1, there's no repeated y values. And if something's a function, there's no repeated x values. So what I would ask you is, this would be my first question, this would be my second question. I would first ask you, is that relation is that relation a function? You would tell me yes, maybe. Okay. Then I would say, is it 1 to 1? And you can either tell me yes or no. And so we look at mostly tables, but you can also do it on graphs, and we're going to talk about that. Okay, I want you to draw an example of a function right here on your paper. It doesn't matter what yours looks like, but it has to pass the vertical line test. Okay, it has to pass the vertical line test. Okay, you could draw something like this. You could draw a straight line. That works. You could draw a parabola. Looks like that. That works. You can draw something like this. That would be fine. Okay, that's a function. So anything there that passes the vertical line test is fine. Over here on the graph, I want you to draw something that doesn't pass the vertical line test. So draw me one that does not pass the vertical line test. Okay, it would probably be something like this. Something where you have that vertical line test failing. Okay, so let's talk about tables or input versus output. Okay, input is X, output is Y. Now, up here it says under function, there can be no repeated X values. So if I'm going to fill out this little, I don't know what you call it, it's not really a table, but you know what I mean, set. Okay, we can have X values, but none of them can repeat. So I did negative 2, 3, and 5. Just as long as none of them repeat, you're good. It doesn't matter what Y is. Okay, now you don't need to write this down. I just need you to look up here. Say I did this. Is this still a function? Yes, because there's no repeated X's. With me? Is this 1 to 1? No. So here there were repeated Y's, so it's not 1 to 1, but it's still a function because there were no repeated X values. You tracking with me? Okay. All right. So over here. So if we want to do something that is not a function for input, we can do 1, 3, 1. Okay, you just want to have a repeated X there. And it doesn't really matter what Y is. The biggest thing that will help you is to remember this. Okay, a function has no repeated X values. There's going to be a lot of repeats in these notes, so just get prepared for it right now, okay? And I know it's kind of annoying, but hopefully it'll help you today. All right, so if I put in something, right, I'm going to get out something. So here we're going to do input. What's another way of writing or saying input? Yes, X. Okay, so our input is X. What's our output then? Y. What is the last word that could describe input for X? It is above on your paper. It is up there somewhere. Not variable. Domain. Yeah, and then range is Y. Good. Range is Y. Okay, a function is a relation. I've already given you this definition. With one or more variables, so it can have X and Y, where each X has a single Y, okay, or each input has a single output, okay? You can say that a bunch of different ways, but we'll just use X and Y because it's the easiest way to do it. Okay, so again here, I'm going to say it again, each X goes to only one Y. I wish that was the last time I was going to say that, but it's not. Okay, so determining whether a relation is a function. Let's look at a table, okay? The relation will not be a function if any X corresponds to more than one Y. So look at table A. Okay, right here. I just want you to focus on the X values. Are there any repeats? No. So yes, this is a function. What about table B? Is it a function? No, because there's a 3 repeated in the X column. Set notation. Set notation is just points listed together. That's all it is. Okay, so you're doing the exact same thing. You don't want any X to correspond to more than one Y. So look at C. Grab my highlighter. Okay, so 3, 4, and 2 are our X values. Is that a function? Yeah, that's a function. Okay, D, 1, 0, 1. Is that a function? Nope, not a function. Okay, so the whole idea of looking for a repeated X is going to help you a lot. All right, a graph. On a graph, Okay, we use the what? You can just write VLT, vertical line test. Okay, we use the vertical line test. The relation will not be a function if a vertical line ever, we'll just say crosses twice. Is E a function? Think vertical line test. Yeah. What about F? Okay, and then last one is a mapping diagram. X can't go to more than one line. All right, these ones are kind of weird to look at, but if you look at this first one, do one of these numbers go to more than one of these numbers? More than one? Yeah, you know what I mean. Do they? No. -4 goes to 16, -2, -1. So that one's good. That one's a function. But if you look here, see how there's two arrows coming from the number 3? 3 goes to 16 and 4. Can't happen. Let me show you the visual of that. If I was to create a table with that, I would have 3, 4, -8, 7, 3, 16. Are the repeated x's? Yeah. Okay. So mapping's kind of weird to look at, but just look for those arrows. And if it helps you just draw on a table, you can do that. Okay? But that one would not be a function. Okay, so I am, oh, we have one more, sorry. Okay, here is one thing we are noticing about graphs. We could not draw a vertical line anywhere on the graph, okay? And it would only cross one time. We have to do that. That has to happen for graphs, okay? We already know it's called the vertical line test. Okay, so this first one, is it a function? Nope, not a function. What about this one? Function? Yep, that's a function. It passed the vertical line test. Okay? I just want you to look up here. Okay, we're going to pause for a second, and you're just going to say yes or no. Okay, for a function or not a function. Maybe. Function or not a function? No. Yes, good. 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 Why? Yep, 5 goes to red and it goes to white. Very good. No, 5 goes to 3 and to 5, right? Easy, right? Oh, there's repeated 2's there, right? So that one would be no. Okay, we're going to do a kind of a word problem here. All right, we got Charlene, and she heads out to school by foot on a fine fall day. Her distance from school is in blocks. It's given as a function of time. So really quickly, to kind of address our graphs, you're going to see graphs periodically throughout Algebra 1. 99% of the time, x values are going to be time. Okay? The only time that they are not time, whoa, hello, sorry about that. The only time that they are not time is if time's not a factor in that question. That's really the only time that happens. So for the most part, you'll know that x is just going to be time. And it can be minutes, hours, seconds, whatever. But in this case, it's minutes. Okay, how far does Charlene start off from school? So think about 0 minutes. That's 22. 22 what? 22 what? Blocks. Okay, so your y value is measured in blocks. What is her distance from school after she has been walking for 4 minutes? So go over to 4 minutes. Go up. Is it 14 blocks? Yep. After walking for 6 minutes, so go ahead and find 6 on your x-axis. Go ahead and go up. It says Charlene stops to look for her subway pass. How long does she stop for? 3 minutes. So there's 2 ways you can look at this. You can say, oh, there's 3 blocks, right, that I go over. Or you can say she stops from minutes 6 to 9. 9 minus 6 would be 3. You can look at it that way as well. Charlene then walks to a subway station before heading to school on the subway. How many blocks did she walk to the subway? That's a trick question. Right here to here is when she walks to the subway. How many minutes is that? 2 minutes, but how many blocks? She goes from 10 to what? 12? So it's only 2 blocks. Kind of a weird question. You have to think through that one. How long did it take her to get to school once she got on the train or the subway? Okay, so she got on the subway here, and then she got to school right here. So that's from minutes 11 to 15 more minutes. Okay, questions for me? All right, I think the next section is no, put the answer there yet. Okay, I'll put the answer here in just a second. So spend just a few minutes doing numbers 1 and 2, and then I'll put the answers in. Number 1 is up there if you want to check those answers. There's number 2. Check those answers. You were taking everything down. Yeah, that was Okay, group, go ahead and, does anybody need me to walk through any of these problems before we move on? Okay, this is easy. Some more. Okay, so we're gonna do a craft. Okay, what you're gonna do is, I'm gonna use your okay, you're gonna rip this back page off. Okay, you're gonna rip this back page off. You're gonna cut these out, and you're gonna keep them under the section where they belong. There are scissors, safety scissors, of course. And glue sticks over there for your use. There's always a people that like worksheets. Make sure that you're strapped in the recycling bin. I think we're here when I move into the shelter that they've given me, so that's I did buy that lipstick, so it should be there. If there's any scissors and somebody else has them, just share. I did it 3 alcohol classes. I did it 3 times a day. And I have 2 alcohol classes. Oh, I wouldn't say I get bored. I would say I get tired. It is, I mean, it is, like, this is fine. Like, there's some lessons that I really just don't enjoy teaching. I would need to do it 3 times, like, okay, now I'll just enjoy the game of choice. But if you guys ask my husband, I keep talking, so the last thing I want to do is talk or husband talk to me. Because, you know, you're around people all day. I'm like, yeah, cool. It's fine. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Good group. Yeah. I think I'm going to get